Hey everyone, it's Laura here from makingcardswithsun.com, and it's time for another Saturday STEM Day carding video. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create a faux marbled look with distress ink and distress markers, since we all know that water marbling with nail polish can be quite frustrating and it smells a lot too, so I decided to try it out with some distress ink and distress markers. So I'm starting out with some Canson watercolor paper, and I highly recommend this watercolor paper for this technique since we're going to be using a lot of water. I'm going to use some masking tape to mask off an area since I'm going to be doing some stamping. First, I'm going to prep my cardstock using some kitchen flour to remove any static cling on this paper because I'm going to be doing some foiling, and foil literally sticks everywhere, so I recommend using a powder tool or an embossing buddy or just some regular kitchen flour like I do. So I'm just going to apply that to my card using a paintbrush, and then I'm going to wipe off the excess powder. Next, I'm going to be using the My Precious stamp set by Winnie and Walter, and I'm just going to pick out a couple of those gems and I'm going to position them onto the card. So I'm using 5 gems, and then I'm going to pick that up using my acrylic block. So I'm stamping these gems using some Versamark ink, and since I couldn't see where I stamped these images, I'm just going to sprinkle on my embossing powder already. I am using some bonding powder from Wow since I'm going to do some foiling. So this is like a really thick and sticky embossing powder made for foiling, and it works absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to stamp more of those gems, and then I sprinkled the embossing powder on there. So I'm going to heat set that powder like I would heat set any embossing powder. Then I am going to pick out some foil. I am using some holographic foil by Heidi Swap, and I'm just going to place those pieces onto my watercolor cardstock, and then I'm going to put that piece into a piece of printer paper, and I'm going to close that so I can run it through my laminating machine. And I'm using the printer paper just to prevent any of that foil sticking to my laminating machine. I am using a very inexpensive laminating machine, and it only has 2 heat settings. I always use the hottest heat setting, and then I just let it get really nice and hot, so it's perfect to foil cardstock. Of course, you could also use a Mink tool from Heidi Swap, but a laminating machine should work fine as well. Then I'm going to be doing the actual marbling technique. So I'm using some mini distress inks, and I'm just going to wipe those ink pads onto that paper so I am left with these stripes, and these stripes don't have to be perfect at all. So first I used some tattered rose, and now I'm going in with some milled lavender, and I'm just going to add some more color to that paper, and I'm going to add those stripes next to the pink ones. And then I am using shaded lilac, so I am just doing the exact same thing, and it doesn't matter how many stripes you use or how you apply them, because we're just going to mix this all with some water. Then I'm going to add a little bit of seedless preserves. I am not adding too much of that color since it's a dark violet color. And then I'm going to spray that piece using a lot of water using a mister. So I am going to spray a really generous amount of water on there to get the colors really moving. And then I am going to heat set that piece immediately. Of course, you could also just let it air dry, but I was a little bit impatient, so I'm just using my heat tool to speed up that drying process. You couldn't really see like the actual marbling look, so I went in with a pumice stone distress marker, and I'm going to add some more of those stripes. And I wanted to mute that gray a little bit by applying some more tattered rose. So I'm using the distress marker this time, and then I'm just going to spray that with water, and then I'm also going to heat set that using my heat tool. And then I repeated that last step for like 2 times to really get that gray marbling look. So then I cut that piece a little bit smaller, so I actually really didn't need to use all of that painter's tape because the ink and the water actually soaked under that painter's tape, so I had to cut it. So I traced that shape on some purple cardstock, and then I cut that out, and then I have two triangle pieces that fit in each other perfectly like a puzzle. So I'm adhering those two pieces using my ATG onto a standard size note card that I cut out of some Nina White cardstock. So for my sentiments, I am using the Sugar Rush stamp set by Winnie and Walter, and I pieced together a happy birthday greeting. I'm going to heat emboss that onto some black cardstock, so I'm stamping that greeting using some Versamark ink first, and then I'm going to sprinkle on some opaque bright white embossing powder by Wow. Then I'm going to assemble this card. So I am going to use some silver glitter cardstock, and I'm going to die cut a banner out of there using the Catherine Cutaway's die cut sets from Winnie and Walter. Of course, you could also just cut that using your scissors, but you know, I have the die, so I thought I would use it. And then I am going to adhere a piece of black and white washi tape onto that glitter cardstock using some foam adhesive. So I cut that at an angle, and then I'm going to adhere the happy birthday greeting on there as well using some foam adhesive. And I could have left the card this way, but you all know that I love my sequins, so I'm just going to add a couple of sequins from the Ton. So I used one of their mixes, and then I also used an individual color, but I will link to all of the supplies in my video description below and on my blog. So I'm adhering those using glossy accents and my EK Success tweezers. So that finishes up the card for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to visit my blog for more information. I will see you soon. Bye bye!